Hello again and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. Today I'm going to be making something out of my snippet roll, and I've got a couple of snippet rolls. I've got one here that to show you. I made these quite a few months ago out of receipts or dockets from purchases. So I saved some dockets and then I glue them together, and then when my pot that's got all of my little scraps in it gets too full, I make some out of the receipts and then I make things out of it. So I've made some other bits and pieces out of it in the past. I did something a few weeks ago where I made some specimen windows out of it, and I'll link that video below. But today what I'm going to make is I'm going to make some mini flip-flop journals, and I have a couple to show you. So here they are. They turned out lovely, and I used this one actually, this snippet roll, and it was longer than the one that's here. And you can see that I have made a closure for it. It closes with a little piece of leather. It's got a little embellishment on it, and then it's got a whole lot of pages in it for journaling that I've decorated, and you can see that it flip-flops. So it has 3 signatures, 2 on this side and then 1 on the other side. So that's what we're going to be making. I will show you all of those at the end in detail, but we'll get set up and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so the very first thing that we need to do is we need to reinforce our snippet roll. So you can see with this one, I have glued all of the scraps onto the face of the receipt, but the receipt paper itself is not very sturdy. And you can see that also some of the pieces are lifting up a little bit. So I just prep the front a little bit better. I glue anything down, and I've done it to this one already. I also glue some paper on the inside. So you can see here that I have put some book page here. I used some thicker quality printer paper and I have put it onto here, but I've gone over the fold. I've scored and then I've glued over the fold. So you do need to work out how big your journal's going to be. So to do that, we just need to measure the width of what our receipt is. Now, our receipts here in Australia, most of the time, around about 8 centimetres. So that's 3 1/8 of an inch. So what I've done is I have then scored the same distance so that it's square, 8 centimetres. So I've scored at 8, 16, 24, and then cut at 32 centimetres. So that is in imperial. That is at 3 1/8, 6 1/4, 9 3/8, and then cutting at 12 1/2. That's relevant for my receipts or my dockets. You can make it whatever size you want. So depending on how wide yours is, I've just made them square, and that worked out really well for when I made my signatures, because I'll run through the sizes of the signatures, and it was extremely efficient doing it this size. Once I've scored it and folded it into a shape of a W, I then have glued over my paper, and I've made sure that I've glued over that fold. So I'll fold one that way, one back on itself, and then another one inwards. So a valley, a mountain, and a valley. I cover all my mountains with washi tape, and that's so that it makes the edges really sturdy. So we're going to do that now, and I'll show you how I do that. So that's how we got it to that stage and the measurements. So then you can see here I've got some washi, and it's a wide washi, and it's craft with some journaling dots really on it. And I'm just going to fold that, tear it, in half, and then I'm going to fold it in half again and put it on my mountains. And I'm actually going to glue it on because I really want this to give some protection to the edges and to stiffen up the folds of my journal. The other reason is that sometimes I've found, depending on what papers I have used to cover my receipt with, to do my snippet roll, sometimes when you fold it, even if you've scored it, the paper cracks because obviously you're using all different types of paper and scrap bits of paper, and some are better than others. And sometimes the quality of the paper is not that great, and so it cracks. So I just wanted to cover the mountain just to reinforce that. And I'll just let that bite for a bit. We'll do the other one. I had a lot of fun actually making these, and I've been working on them off and on for most of the week actually, because I've been busy doing things with my son who's visiting at the moment from Europe. He lives in Europe and he's back home just for 2 weeks. He leaves tomorrow actually. And so I've been working on these in between doing things with him. And they seem to have taken me all week to get to doing a video because we've been so busy, which has been lovely. So now you can see that I've just glued those on and I'm just going to cut them down. I love the size of these actually. They're perfect to throw in your handbag. And there's a decent amount of real estate of pages in them. So I'll just give that a burnish. Make sure that's stuck really well. So you can see now we have, this is our cover. We have some reinforcing washi tape stuck down, and I've put art glitter glue on it as well. Opens up here, and then we've got a mountain which I've reinforced again, and then we've got another area. Then this flips over and this is the back, and then it'll open up for another signature in here as well. So while that is drying, I'll show you the signatures that I've made. And you can see that I have already pre-made 3 signatures. Now what I've done is I've put a selection of papers and I've just pulled them out of my stash. I didn't buy anything for this project at all. I'm using up scraps and bits and pieces. But you can see that I have some lined paper here and all the signatures are exactly the same. I have some lined paper and it's double-sided, and I tore that out of a book actually, out of an old diary. And I've just stamped on them, and I have stamped on them in archival, Ranger archival in Pebble Beach. So I wanted to use archival and waterproof permanent ink just so that it doesn't smudge so much for however people are using it. And you can see that I have just stamped different patterns or different stamps all the way through. I have some scrapbook paper there, and I've used the same ink all the way through. And there's a mixture of pages. So here we've got some ledger. Here we've got some grid paper. This one's like cartridge paper, drawing paper, some more scrapbook paper, dot grid for journaling. I've got some paper out of a Learn to Type typing book, and then some more of that paper, and then just some thin journaling paper, blank journaling paper. So you can see there's a bit of a mixture and a few different types of stamps, but I have repeated them a few times just for efficiency, because obviously I was making all of them the same and just mass producing. But there's something little on each page so that there's no blank page. And the great thing about this size, that I've just given you, so 8 centimeter square journal, which is 3 1/8 square, it means that I am using, when I put this in, you can see that it's slightly smaller, just so that it's hidden when you look at the journal. You can see there that it's just slightly shorter, and the measurements of my signature are 3 by 3 inches, and that in centimeters is 7.6 centimeters, which means that when you're cutting your paper, you're cutting it at 3 by 6 inches. So you're getting a lot of pages out of, especially 12 by 12 or 6 by 6 paper. So you're getting to use up some of those 6 by 6 papers or 12 by 12 papers that you may not normally know what to do with. And then just folding it in the middle, and you can see that I've tidied up the edge and straightened it off, and then just stamped it. So it is a really good size to use to make these little flip-flop journals. So that's the 3 signatures. They're ready to go. Now that this has dried a little bit, what we'll do is we'll put some holes in it. So what I've done is I have made up a template, and I've marked the top of it with a T. I'm not sure whether you can see that T there for the top. It's got a T on the top there, so that I always put it at the top. And I'm going to punch some holes in this. You can see that I've made the template, worked out where I'm going to punch the holes, and I'm going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch on it to sew in the signatures. So the first thing I'm going to do is punch the holes into my cover, and I'm going to use my awl. I'm just going to line that up and get it started. I've got a large darning needle that I prefer to use to push through because it's not as thick as my awl. I don't want the holes to be too big. So I get it started with that, with the awl, and then finish it off with this darning needle. And I'll do the other side as well. So we need to do 3 lots of holes in all of the valleys. Keeping the top at the top. Okay, so I've got those. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing with my signatures. Now with my signatures, I line them all up. You can see that I have already folded them all, and I've straightened off the edge. I've cut down the edge and made it nice and neat with my steel ruler and my scalpel. And I'm just going to put some bulldog clips on this, just to hold it. And I'm just going to line this up again, putting the top at the top. So I just want to check that my text is the right way round. And I'm keeping it in a little bit of a folded position, and just bending it up a little bit so that it's not flat. Then I'll finish that off with the needle. See that it's pushing through reasonably easy. I'm not needing to force it too much. Now I will do that with the other signatures now. I'll see you in a moment. So I've got all those with holes put in them. Now I will just tell you the measurements of what I did with this. So I put one in the middle at 4 centimeters, and then I've come up around about 1.5 centimeters from either end, which is around about 9/16 from either end, and then use that in my template. Okay, so let's now sew this in, and I'm just going to use some embroidery floss. Cut off a length, and I have a slightly thinner embroidery needle to sew my signatures in. Okay, so I'm going to find the front, and there it is, and pick one of my signatures, whichever one I think is the prettiest for the front page. This one's got a blob on it. And I'm going to do the tying in the center of the signature, not on the outside of the journal. So I'm going to go through the middle hole of both, and then leave a little bit, and then come in from the top, then down to the bottom, back out. And you can see that it's very quick to do. And then I'm going to hold my thread, I've turned it over, I'm going to hold my thread out of the way so I don't split it, and I'm going to go back down through the middle, and make sure that I'm on either side of my thread in the center. So you can see here I've got one on either side, and this is over the top of it. And I'm going to straighten it up a little bit and pull it quite firm, but not like pulling it so tight that it's going to tear the page. And I'm going to do an over and under and over, another over and under, and then I'll just snip that off. And there we go, there we have the first signature in. Now when you're using this, you'll see occasionally a little bit pop up. So now you can see here I've got a small amount of my cover that's lifting away. So I'm just going to glue that shut, and that's because there's so many little pieces of paper that are glued on that receipt or the docket, that there's going to be little bits that are going to be lifting until you've found them all. And I just glue them back down with art glitter glue, and it'll be fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew the other two signatures in, and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, here we go. I have sewn those three signatures in, and you can see that it was really easy to do. It wasn't complicated, and we're using up that snippet roll that you're looking at thinking, what am I going to do with that snippet roll? It's turned into a lovely little journal that's a great size for your handbag. And like I said, there's quite a bit of real estate in here for journaling. So now we need to work out how we're going to close it. So what I worked out is I wanted to have some leather. Well, this is faux leather. I'll actually show you the packet. It's called thonging, and I just got it from my $2 junk shop. It's faux suede, and it's 4 meters long, and I think it was $2.50. And I am using the lighter colored one. And what I want it to do is, I'll show you on this one, I want it to close my journal. So what I've done is I have threaded it through the back of the journal and made a loop. And then this bit comes around and ties in here, and then you tie it in a bow. So it's really easy to open and close. And when you undo it, it stays attached to the journal, and there's a loop there for you to put a charm on. So let me show you how I do that. For those of you that are very lucky and have one of those fangle-dangle crocodiles that goes in deeper, you would be able to use that to punch a hole in this, but I don't. I just have a normal crocodile, and I can punch a hole over this side, but I can't get it to reach into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to measure, and I'm going to have to use my hammer. And I have one of these setting devices, and I just bought this from Spotlight. It has a punching piece, and then it has a setting piece. You would be able to get something like that in most haberdashery stores or on Amazon. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure, and I'm going to measure at 4 centimeters top to bottom, and I'm doing it around about 1.5 centimeters in. So there's my 4 centimeter mark, and I'm going 1.5 centimeters in from the edge. So there's my first dot, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to come in around about 1.5 centimeters, and this one's easier because I can line it up with where I've punched the hole for where I was stitching in the signature. So I can just check it and make sure that it's in the center. So now I'm just going to use this to punch a hole in it, and I'll get my old mat. Don't want to put a hole in my new mat. And I'll line it up and give it a good whack. Just one hit, and you can see that it punches a hole in it very simply. And I'll do another hole on this one. I'll get out some eyelets, and I'm also going to use 2 of the washers, these ones here, because I want some extra surface area to give strength to the journal. I'll pop those in, put the washers on, then I use the other device that's got almost like a sombrero hat on the top of it, and I pop that down on top of it and give it a couple of really good whacks to set the eyelet. And the other one, there we go, and we have our eyelet set on the back of the journal. So that's a really cheap option for setting things in the middle of your paper if you don't have one of those super duper eyelet setters. I think that the little setting kit with eyelets or grommets, it was only a few dollars to get it. So, you know, I'm talking less than $10 Australian. So it's definitely worth getting it and just having it as an option for you so you've got more flexibility. Okay, so we've got our eyelets in. Now we need to decorate. So I have pulled out a few images of what we're going to do on the front of this one, and I have got some bits and pieces. I think actually all of them are from printables. I think these 3 are from Margaret from Seven Plaza, and this one I'm not sure. It's a label that I've had in my stash. I'm not sure who that one's from, I'm sorry, but I think these ones are from Margaret at Seven Plaza. And you can see that I'm just inking the edges. Okay, and we're going to glue those on. I think I had this here, our bird on, a ticket. Not sure what that language is. It looks like it might be Eastern European. Yes, so the reason I came up with these is because I was looking at my snippet roll the other day. I have a whole heap of dockets. I keep my snippet rolls and my receipts or dockets all in one box. And I was putting some receipts away the other day, thinking, oh, I'll put them in the box with the other receipts. And I was putting some dockets away, and I was thinking, oh, gee, I seem to have a lot of receipts in here. And then I thought, I need to make some more snippet rolls because I've got so many receipts. And then I thought, oh, I haven't done anything with my snippet roll for quite a while. Now I'm going to cut this down. I think I want to cut it down around about here. And so then I thought, oh, I should do something with my snippet rolls. And then thought, what will I make with my snippet rolls? Well, I have a big long list of ideas that I just jot down and add to. And I read through that and thought, I think I'd like to make some little flip-flop journals to go into handbag size and perfect stocking stuffer size. Perfect for putting into stocking stuffers. So here we are. Now let me just see that that's straight. Straight would be good, Annie. So here we are, a few days down the track, and I've made a few flip-flop journals, which I'm quite happy with, to be honest. And one is going home to Europe with my son as a gift. And if you receive this or one of my little journals as a gift, I hope you really enjoy using it. Doesn't that look cute? Now on the back, I like to decorate the back just a tad. I'm going to put this on here, and a bird, and a number 8. Why not? And I know that lots of people don't use journals like little books or that anymore because they write their notes on their phone. But there's a lot of us that don't actually do that. I prefer to write my ideas down on paper or in a little book, and I scribble all over it and ideate all around it, brainstorm off of my ideas and draw little, weird little squiggles and arrows. And so there are quite a few of us that still like to jot things down. If you like jotting things down with pen and paper, let me know in the comments. Or if you are a tech person, let me know why you like putting it on your phone. Because I know that there's lots of programs now that you can use as well to brainstorm in and ideate in. And I might need to have a little look at some of those. All right, we'll tuck the number 8 under here. Now, I'm going to do a few gold splatters on this one, I think. I think that they would look good, these birds, with a few gold splatters. So let's set up for that. Okay, I've put the gold splatters on this, and I'm just letting it dry a little bit at the moment. So I'm also going to put a little bit of pen work just as a drop shadow, and I'm just going to go around parts of the bird. I'm going to decide where I want the shadow to be. So I'm deciding that I want it on the right hand side down bottom. So anywhere where it's on the right hand side, I'm going to just go around it with my black marker. And I'm also going to put a little bit of detail underneath the branch and underneath the breast of the bird and underneath his wing, as if it's kind of a bit of a shadow. And then just a few of the leaves, I'm just going to call them out. Yeah, that will do. I might put a little bit on his beak, add a bit more depth, and then I'll do the same on the back. Actually, on this one, I'm going to do the bottom left, and that's because of the way that the bird is sitting. I'm going to go around that side of the bird, underside of the branches, around the bottom of the 8 and the side of the 8 and the underside of the bird. So now I will put on my tie and my charm. So I've pulled out a nice little leaf charm, and I've got it on a jump ring, and I'm just going to thread all that onto my thong. Now this is measuring around about 65 centimeters, which is about 26 inches. And you can see that I've got it halved, and I'm just going to tie this with a knot. I'm not going to just tie both of them in a knot together. I'm actually going to tie this one in a knot around it. So here we have our two pieces of thong coming along, and I'm just going to come in around about 4 centimeters. So that's around about 1.5 inches approximately. And I'm going to tie a knot. So I'm going to put this one over there, threadle it through the loop, and tie a knot. I'm trying to do it so that you can see it. So I've tied a knot onto there. And the reason I just didn't tie a knot like this was because it's going to be too, if I tie a knot like that, the knot's going to be too chunky. So I didn't want it to be too thick. I'll do that again. I'll just show you again how I did it. So I just put one over the other and looped it around like that, and put this one down through here and pulled it tight. Okay, now I have a knot in it now, so I'm going to threadle this, both strands, through the back of my journal, and the knot there, you can see it stops it from going through and creates that loop for it to come around the front. And then on the back inside cover, I'm going to bring that through and lay them nice and level and push them back through the other eyelet. And you want that to lay flat. Okay, and then that will come around the front and sit lovely. And this will come around, and you just, when you're tying it, just put one of them through the loop, bring the other one up and tie it in a bow. And there we go, there's our journal, our little flip-flop journal. That was fun to make and easy, super easy. All right, let me clear the decks and I'll show you the three of them. Okay, so here's our one that we just made together. Here's the front, and we have a nice little leaf as our charm. Now, I'm not sure that I told you how many pages were in each signature. So I made 10 sheets. So I put 10 sheets of paper in each signature. So that means that there's 30 sheets of paper, and then there's 4 sides on each, so there's 120 pages, which is a lot of real estate for a small little book. And you can see that on the back there's our other bird with our number 8. And you saw how I tied that one shut, so that one's that there. Now this one here's got a flower on it, and a number 3 and a number 00, batch number 007. And you can see that I tended to pick things that was pulling out a little bit of colour that was in my snippet roll. So every piece of the snippet roll is going to be slightly different. And so I just pulled out something that was falling on the front that made sense to be around it. So here we've got some pink flowers. So I picked a pink flower. And then on the back there's another piece of that pink flower. So I put a native on it, native Australian flower on it, and a number 3. And some gold splatters. And then this last one, I have some figs on it. So I have a fig branch and just a label, and you can see it's got some nice detailing in the back of this that I wanted to make sure that I could see, and some text. And then I just drew on that because there was some black text in it. I wanted to repeat that black element. So there's the fig. And then on the back, I put some plums and a ticket that says 10 cents and some gold splatters. So there we go. There's our 3 little flip-flop journals made from Snippet roll. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the project. I had a great time making these, and I think that I might churn out a few more and use up a whole stack of my old diaries, like paper out of my old diaries, to turn into journals. Okay, that's all from me today. I hope you really enjoyed the video, and if you did like the video and the flip-flop journals made out of a snippet roll, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That would be wonderful. And I hope you all have an opportunity in the next few days or week or so to make something new and fun. And I will see you all very soon with another project. Thanks again, everybody. Bye for now.